All right, welcome back. Today, we are diving deep into Adobe's latest numbers. And wow, are they something else? They just closed out a record-breaking fiscal year for 2025. We're talking massive revenue, a huge bet on AI. Basically, we're going to break down everything an investor needs to know about where Adobe is and, more importantly, where it's headed. So let's get right into it.
So let's start with the big one, the number that just jumps off the page, $23.77 billion. That's Adobe's total revenue for fiscal 2025. I mean, just let that sink in. It is an all-time record for them, and it really sets the stage for the whole story we're about to tell. So the big question is, how on earth did they pull that off?
Well, you don't have to guess. The CEO, Shantanu Narayan, lays it out for us right here. He says, and I'm quoting, that these record results show just how important Adobe is becoming in the global AI ecosystem. So right from the top, he's telling us this isn't just a lucky quarter. The message is crystal clear. For Adobe, it is all about AI. That's the engine driving this whole thing. Okay, so here's our game plan for today. We'll start with those record results. Then we'll look at the growth engines. Where's the money coming from? After that, we dive into the big AI bet. And we'll wrap up by looking at what Adobe is telling us to expect for the future. Simple as that. All right, first up, let's break down these record results. We've seen the massive revenue number, but now we're going to peel back the layers and really look at the financial health of the company. Now, that huge revenue figure is even more impressive when you put it in context. It's an 11% jump from last year. And that's not just a tiny little bump. That's serious, sustained acceleration. That's exactly the kind of trend that gets investors really interested.
But revenue is just one piece of the puzzle. Check out this number, over $10 billion in operating cash flow. For anyone looking at this company from an investment perspective, this is just a beautiful thing to see. It means Adobe isn't just making sales on paper, they are an incredibly efficient machine at turning those sales into cold, hard cash.
And that efficiency, it flows right down to the bottom line. Take a look at the net income. This is pure profit. It jumped from about $5.5 billion to over $7 billion. So what this tells you is that this growth isn't just coming at some crazy high cost. No, this is profitable, sustainable growth. But here's the thing. While profit is key, for a company like Adobe, the real magic for an investor is in the predictability of that income.
And that brings us to this key metric, ARR, or Annualized Recurring Revenue. For a subscription business like Adobe, this is pretty much the holy grail. It's a measure of all the predictable, locked-in revenue from their subscribers that they can count on over the next year. It's all about stability and visibility. And as you can see, Adobe's ARR is absolutely crushing it. It grew by 11.5%, ending the year at a staggering $25.2 billion. So what this tells us, what this tells an investor, is that their foundation, that recurring subscription income, isn't just massive, it's also growing really strong. Okay, so that's the what. Now for section 2, the where. We know the numbers look fantastic, but where is all this growth actually coming from? Which parts of the business are really pushing things forward? So at the highest level, you can think of the business in two big chunks. You've got digital media, that's your Creative Cloud, Photoshop, Acrobat, all the classics. And that's the absolute powerhouse, pulling in over $17.5 billion. Then you have digital experience, which is smaller but still a huge part of the business, really focused on big companies and their marketing and analytics. That here is where things get really interesting. And this is a super important insight if you're watching this company closely. Adobe is changing how they report their numbers. They're moving away from talking about product segments, and instead, they're now focusing on customer groups. Now, why does that matter? It's a subtle but huge shift. It tells us they're thinking less about what they sell and way more about who they're selling to. This lets them tailor their products and ultimately get more value from every single user. And this table just shows you exactly why that shift is so smart. Their traditional base, the creative and marketing pros, is still growing at a really healthy 11%. But look over at the business professionals and consumers group, it's growing even faster at 15%. This is proof that Adobe is successfully breaking out of its traditional niche and tapping into a massive new market. And all of this really leads us to the heart of the story, the engine behind everything we've talked about so far. Let's get into their massive, company-defining bet on artificial intelligence. This isn't just some new feature, you guys. This is a fundamental rewiring of the entire company. So, what does AI leadership actually mean for Adobe? It's easy to throw that buzzword around, but let's look at the actual products and the strategy they're using to really own this space. Well, it's really a full-on assault. You've got Firefly, which is their generative AI for creating images and content. You've got the Acrobat AI assistant, which is completely changing how we deal with documents. For the big enterprise customers, there's Gen Studio, and what's really key is they're not trying to do this all alone. They've got deep partnerships with the other giants in the space, like Google, OpenAI, and Microsoft.
And if you want proof that this AI strategy is working, here it is. This is the kicker. Over 1/3 of their entire recurring revenue now comes from what they call AI-influenced products. Just think about that for a second. AI isn't some tiny experiment on the side. It is already a core, massive driver of their entire business model.
And if you need just one number to show you how fast people are jumping on board, this is it. The use of generative credits, that's what people use to power the AI features, grew 3 times in a single quarter. That's not linear growth, that's exponential. It shows that customers aren't just trying these tools, they are using them more and more, and at an incredible rate. Okay, let's land the plane with our final section. We've seen an absolutely incredible 2025, but investing is always about what's next. So what is Adobe telling Wall Street to expect for the year ahead?
Their official forecast shows they are still very confident. They're targeting revenue right around $26 billion. They expect that recurring revenue to keep growing by over 10%, and they're forecasting really strong earnings per share. The message here is simple. They think this momentum is going to continue.
And here's a really important little detail for anyone watching the stock. This stern forecast doesn't even include the potential impact from their announced acquisition of SEMrush. So if and when that deal closes, these already great numbers could get an extra boost. It's another potential upside. Which really leaves us with the big multi-billion-dollar question, right? Adobe has put AI at the absolute center of its universe. It's transforming everything from Photoshop to PDFs. And the results so far, they're incredible. The targets they've set, they're ambitious. So the ultimate question for any investor is this: can this AI-powered strategy not only keep them on top, but actually accelerate their dominance in the years to come? The answer to that is going to define the next chapter for this tech giant.